In the realm of modern warfare, innovation reigns supreme as Russia and Ukraine deploy a formidable arsenal of advanced military weaponry. From precision-guided missiles to unmanned drones armed with deadly munitions, the battleground serves as a crucible for cutting-edge technologies designed to tip the scales of power. The emergence of cyber warfare and electronic warfare further blurs the boundaries between conventional and unconventional tactics, adding complexity to an already volatile situation. Against this backdrop of innovation and conflict, the second deadly barrage unleashed by Russian forces serves as a stark reminder of the immense destructive capability wielded by modern military technology, with civilians tragically caught in the crossfire. Amidst the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine, the Eastern Front has become a focal point of intense military confrontation. Recent reports reveal a disturbing escalation as Russian forces unleash a second deadly barrage, inflicting heavy casualties and exacerbating the humanitarian crisis in the region. This military update delves into the grim realities of the situation, highlighting the precision and ferocity of the attack, the valiant efforts of Ukrainian defense forces, and the urgent need for international intervention to stem the tide of violence and pave the way for a diplomatic resolution. The conflict is actually a tangled web of historical grievances and contemporary geopolitical tensions, stemming from the aftermath of the Soviet Union's collapse. In 2014, Russia's annexation of Crimea set off a chain reaction, leading to a violent separatist insurgency in eastern Ukraine. The Donetsk and Luhansk regions became the battlegrounds where pro-Russian separatist movements clashed with Ukrainian government forces. Accusations of Russian military support for the separatists further fueled the conflict, exacerbating the humanitarian crisis with thousands dead and millions displaced. At its core, the conflict represents a struggle for power and influence in Eastern Europe. Russia's annexation of Crimea was a bold assertion of regional dominance, challenging Western-led international norms. Ukraine's aspirations for closer ties with the European Union and NATO clashed with Russia's interests, turning the country into a geopolitical battleground. Efforts to find a diplomatic solution have faltered, with ceasefires routinely violated and peace talks making little progress. The conflict remains a simmering threat to regional stability, demanding international attention and concerted efforts to address its root causes of sovereignty, identity, and security. Recently, conflict in eastern Ukraine has seen significant developments, with Russian forces achieving a notable victory as Ukrainian forces withdrew from the besieged town of Avdiivka. This withdrawal marks Russia's most significant advancement since the fall of Bakhmut last year. Avdiivka, which had been under siege for months, held strategic importance as a possible gateway for Ukraine to reach the Russian-controlled city of Donetsk. However, the town has suffered extensive damage, and almost all of its pre-war population has fled. Bakhmut, another key flashpoint along the front line, has experienced heavy fighting throughout the war. While Ukraine made some gains in the surrounding areas over the summer, recent assessments indicate that Russian forces have made advancements around the city. The ongoing battles in Bakhmut underscore the volatility and complexity of the conflict in eastern Ukraine. Further south, near the villages of Robotyne and Verbove in Zaporizhzhia, Russia has made gradual progress. These areas were previously sites of Ukrainian success during counteroffensives in 2023. The slow but steady advances by Russian forces highlight the ongoing challenges faced by Ukrainian defenders along the front line. Meanwhile, Ukraine continues its attacks on the Russian fleet in the Black Sea, demonstrating its determination to resist Russian aggression. A recent claim of sinking the amphibious ship, the Caesar Kunikov, off the coast of Russian-occupied Crimea underscores the continued naval confrontations between the two sides. These actions reflect Ukraine's efforts to assert its control over its territorial waters and push back against Russian military presence in the region. Russian officials have said that the focus of its forces is now the complete liberation of the Donbas, broadly referring to Ukraine's eastern regions of Luhansk and Donetsk. The open terrain in the east will pose challenges for the Russians as they attack. With less wooded land in their way than in the north of the country, Russian troops may be able to advance with fewer obstructions. Brigadier Barry says Russia is likely to make heavy use of artillery to break down strong Ukrainian defenses from the air before pushing forward on the ground. Artillery is heavy weaponry designed to fire munitions much further than small arms. Attacking Ukrainian troops troops head-on with infantry, without a heavy artillery bombardment first, risks huge Russian casualties and greatly increases the risk of defeat. On January 29, 2024, in the city of Kharkiv, Ukraine, a horrifying incident unfolded. Like a colossal scalpel from a surreal horror movie, a Russian missile sliced off an entire section of a 5-story apartment building. The impact resulted in the loss of 10 lives and left 60 people wounded. Rescue workers, their hands and uniforms blackened by soot and dust, dug through the rubble that used to be walls, ceilings, and furniture of the victims' apartments. Amidst the destruction, they found a man who miraculously survived, but tragically, his wife and 8-year-old daughter did not. In a devastating strike on Building 7 on Proskury Street in northern Kharkiv, Russian forces unleashed one of the largest assaults on the city since the conflict began nearly 2 years ago. Kharkiv, Ukraine's second-largest city and located a mere 40 kilometers, 25 miles, from the Russian border, bore the brunt of this attack. The assault showcased the formidable arsenal employed by Russian forces, which included a variety of missiles. Among them were remodeled SS-300 missiles, originally part of air defense systems designed for intercepting and destroying other missiles in midair. Additionally, X-22 hypersonic missiles, specifically engineered to target and destroy warships, were utilized in the assault. Perhaps most alarming were the Iskander missiles, monstrous in size at 7 meters long, costing $3 million each, and weighing almost 4 tons. These formidable projectiles are capable of carrying up to 480 kilograms, 1,058 pounds, of explosives or even a nuclear warhead, posing a significant threat to the targeted area and its inhabitants. The attack on Kharkiv underscores the escalating intensity of the conflict and the devastating impact of advanced weaponry on civilian populations caught in the crossfire. The situation in Kharkiv is critical. Lieutenant General Ihor Romanenko, former deputy chief of Ukraine's General Staff of the Armed Forces, explained that Kharkiv is Russia's priority because President Vladimir Putin cannot forgive the fact that this Russian-speaking city resisted becoming part of the Russian world. Moscow, however, consistently denies targeting civilians, asserting that it does not hit civilian infrastructure and residential areas, unlike what they claim about the Kiev regime. A lack of air defense missiles prevented Ukraine from thwarting a Russian missile attack last week that destroyed the biggest power plant in the region around the capital, Kiev, President Volodymyr Zelensky has said. Mr. Zelensky's comments, which follow repeated warnings from his government to its allies about scarce air defenses, reflect the dire situation Ukraine finds itself in as Russia scales up strikes on its energy system. There were 11 missiles flying. We destroyed the first 7 and 4 remaining destroyed Trypillia. Why? Because there were 0 missiles. We ran out of missiles to defend Trypillia, he said in the interview with PBS. The Ukraine president previously warned that Ukraine has already had to make tough choices about what to protect and said his country could run out of defensive missiles entirely if Russian attacks continue to pace. Russian forces continue to pummel eastern Ukraine in a bid to advance farther into the Donetsk region, while Ukraine continues to suffer shortages of manpower and material. The commander-in-chief of Ukraine's armed forces, Oleksandr Syrsky, said Monday that Russian forces were aiming to capture the town of Chasiv Yar in Donetsk by May 9th, the date on which Russia commemorates Soviet victory in World War II. Chasiv Yar lies west of Bakhmut, which was captured by Russian forces last May. Capturing Chasiv Yar would give Russia another strategic gain in Donetsk and could allow it to advance on industrial hub Kramatorsk. Syrsky did not present evidence for his claim. Ukraine's military said Tuesday that Russian forces had launched 16 missile attacks, 31 airstrikes, and 79 MLRS, multiple launch rocket systems, attacks on the positions of Ukrainian forces in the past 24 hours. In the Lyman, Avdiivka, and Bakhmut area of Donetsk, Ukrainian forces repelled 56 attacks in the past day, the military said. Analysts at the Institute for the Study of War said Monday that Ukrainian forces' ability to repel intensified Russian offensive operations in eastern Ukraine has degraded due to material shortages and will likely continue to degrade in the near future, should delays in U.S. security assistance continue. Russia's defense ministry announced its troops had seized the village of Pervomayske in the Donetsk region, about 11 kilometers, 7 miles, west of the largely destroyed town of Avdiivka, captured by Russia in the middle of February. Ukraine did not confirm this, however. Its general staff said on Saturday evening that troops had repelled Russian attacks aimed at pushing them out of Pervomayske and other villages nearby. Ukrainian prosecutors said Russia on Saturday launched airstrikes on villages in the Donetsk region, killing 3, including a 60-year-old man and a 66-year-old woman, and wounding 4. In the south, Russia accused Ukraine on Saturday of killing 10 by shelling the occupied town of Tokmak in the Zaporizhia region. Ukrainian authorities in Zaporizhia said Russia had struck the region more than 400 times in the past day, including from planes. Russia also said one man was killed by Ukrainian shelling of the occupied town of Oleshki in the southern Kherson region. Safety at the Russian-held Zaporizhia nuclear power plant in Ukraine remains precarious, but the shift to a cold shutdown of all 6 reactor units completed on Saturday is positive, the UN nuclear watchdog chief said in a statement. Drones attacked Zaporizhzhia, Europe's biggest nuclear power plant, on Sunday, hitting a reactor building in the worst such incident since November 2022. Though nuclear safety was not compromised, the International Atomic Energy Agency has said. Moscow and Kyiv have repeatedly accused one another of targeting the plant since Russia seized it weeks after it invaded Ukraine. During these situations, Ukraine has called on allies to provide air defenses to help fight against waves of Russian airstrikes that have targeted the energy system in recent weeks. Russian missile and drone attacks have repeatedly attacked Ukrainian energy infrastructure since last month, prompting Kyiv to issue increasingly desperate calls for air defense help. Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba said, "We urgently require additional Patriot and other modern air defense systems, weapons and ammunition. I take this opportunity to once again urge all of our partners to take extraordinary and bold steps. Ukrainian air defense is now protecting not only Ukrainian skies from Russian air terror, it also shields neighboring Moldova, Romania, and Poland from the immediate threat of missiles and drones entering their airspace," he added at a Black Sea Security Conference. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said Ukraine ran out of missiles to stop a Russian strike destroying a Ukrainian thermal power plant near the capital Kyiv last week. "I will give you one example, a very simple example, the Tripilska power plant. Electricity in the Kyiv region depends on it. 11 missiles were headed towards it. The first 7 we took down. 4 destroyed Tripilska," Zelensky said in an interview with PBS. "Why? Because we had 0 missiles. We ran out of all missiles," he said. CNBC was unable to verify Zelensky's account. The Tripilska thermal power plant, the biggest energy supplier for the Kyiv, Cherkasy, and Zhytomyr regions, was completely destroyed last Thursday, marking one of the more impactful strikes for Russian forces, who have significantly increased their attacks on Ukrainian energy infrastructure recently. Ukraine's military leadership is also warning that the country's armed forces are facing such shortages of artillery ammunition that some units on the front lines are rationing their use of artillery shells. Ukraine is waiting for a major U.S. aid package worth $61 billion to be approved, and there are concerns that supplies are dwindling in the meantime. Zelensky told PBS that NATO members' military assistance for Israel, when it was attacked by Iran's drone and missile strike, showed it also had the capacity to defend and protect Ukraine. When someone says that our allies cannot provide us with this or that weapon, or they cannot be in Ukraine with this or that force, because that would be perceived as if Ukraine is engaging NATO in the war, well, after Saturday's attack, I want to ask you a question. Is Israel part of NATO or not? He said. Olaf Scholz said on X in response to the announcement, "We stand steadfast on the side of Ukraine," adding that Zelensky had informed him in a telephone call on Saturday about massive Russian air attacks on civilian energy infrastructure. Germany's ambassador to Ukraine, Martin Jaeger, said on Askus, "Other international partners must follow quickly now." Ukraine's army chief said on Saturday the situation on the Eastern Front had worsened in recent days as Russia intensified its armored assaults and battles rage for control of a village west of the devastated city of Bakhmut. "The situation on the Eastern Front has deteriorated significantly in recent days," said Kolgen Oleksandr Sursky. More than 2 years since Russia's invasion reflected the grim mood in Kyiv, as vital U.S. military aid that Kyiv expected to receive months ago remains stuck in Congress. Zelensky said in his evening address that the situation at the front in some areas is difficult. As the conflict in Ukraine escalates, international community has stepped up its support for the besieged nation. In response to the urgent need for air defense capabilities, Germany has announced its decision to supply Ukraine with a U.S.-made Patriot air defense system and accompanying missiles. This critical assistance comes at a pivotal moment in the conflict as Ukrainian cities face relentless attacks and the civilian population suffers under the onslaught of Russian aggression. Germany's decision to provide the Patriot air defense system underscores the growing solidarity among Western nations in standing with Ukraine against Russian aggression. The Patriot system, renowned for its effectiveness in intercepting and neutralizing incoming threats, will significantly enhance Ukraine's ability to defend its airspace and protect its population from aerial assaults. The provision of this advanced air defense system represents a tangible demonstration of support from Germany to Ukraine in its fight against Russian forces. As Ukrainian cities such as Kharkiv and Chasiv Yar come under constant fire and face the threat of further devastation, the timely delivery of the Patriot system will bolster Ukraine's defense capabilities and provide much-needed reassurance to its citizens. As the Russian bombardment threatens vital infrastructure, including the energy system, Kyiv faces urgent challenges in defending its territory. In response to this critical situation, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz announced Germany's decision to supply Ukraine with a U.S.-made Patriot air defense system and air defense missiles. This assistance comes at a crucial time as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky expressed gratitude for Germany's support in a statement on the Telegram messaging app. Zelensky's acknowledgement of Germany's commitment to supplying an additional Patriot system and missiles for existing air defense systems underscores the significance of this support in bolstering Ukraine's defense capabilities. The timely provision of advanced air defense technology will enable Ukraine to better protect its energy infrastructure and civilian population from Russian attacks. Furthermore, Zelensky indicated in his nightly video address that discussions were ongoing regarding the expansion of the transfer of another air defense system, specifically the IRIS-T system. While German officials did not directly reference these talks in their remarks, Zelensky's statement highlights the collaborative efforts between Ukraine and Germany to enhance Ukraine's air defense capabilities. The coordinated efforts between Ukraine and Germany reflect the broader solidarity and support from the international community in standing with Ukraine against Russian aggression. By providing crucial air defense systems and missiles, Germany's assistance reinforces the commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. As the conflict continues to unfold, the provision of advanced air defense systems represents a vital lifeline for Ukraine in its struggle to defend against Russian aggression and safeguard its energy infrastructure. The partnership between Ukraine and Germany exemplifies the shared determination to confront the challenges posed by the ongoing conflict and work towards a peaceful resolution. Moreover, Germany's decision reflects the broader efforts of the international community to aid Ukraine in its struggle for sovereignty and territorial integrity. By supplying the Patriot system, Germany joins other nations in a unified stance against Russian aggression and sends a clear message of solidarity with the Ukrainian people. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan denounced Russian President Vladimir Putin's decision to recognize breakaway eastern Ukrainian territories, calling it unacceptable. Russia's decision to recognize the so-called Donetsk and Luhansk republics is contrary to the Minsk agreements, Erdogan told reporters during a trip to Senegal on Tuesday. It was emphasized that this decision constitutes a clear violation of Ukraine's political unity, sovereignty, and territorial integrity, he added. "We consider this decision of Russia unacceptable," Erdogan said. The Turkish leader called on the parties to respect common sense and announced that Turkey is open to attending a summit proposal by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Erdogan added that Turkey is taking precautions in case of an escalation in hostility around the Black Sea. "Since we are a Black Sea country, many precautions must be taken," he said. As the conflict persists, the international community must stand in solidarity with Ukraine and condemn Russia's aggressive actions. Diplomatic efforts must be intensified to find a peaceful resolution that respects Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Moreover, accountability mechanisms must be established to hold those responsible for these deadly attacks accountable for their actions.